Hello everyone, and welcome to the official preview stream of the next major War Thunder update. My name is Mike Boom, and I'm joined here by lovely Tom, aka Oxy.
Hello.
And we have a bunch of stuff to show you today. Now, we are going to be doing it a little bit differently to usual. Usually we go by nation, show off, starting off with America and working our way down to the minor nations. This time we are going to drag you along a little bit. You're going to have to save your Varking for a little bit, because firstly, we are going to show you the new map called Flanders. And we are doing something a little bit different with this one. In fact, depending on the battle rating, this map will be available to both low tier and to high tier. Depending on the battle rating, some of the assets on the map are going to change. You have just seen it on the trailer. There was a version with a crashed blimp on the map, and also a Richie's a welcome here sign.
I like it.
Classic, absolute classic. So let's have a drive around. I'm going to be in the Vickers Mk.11, the newest UK IFV. Tom is having a stroll around in a low tier M2A2, just so we can show you the difference between what maps look like in high tier and low tier. You can already see on the far side there on the A point, there's a crashed American transport plane. I'm not entirely sure what it is. I think it's a C5 Galaxy, something along those lines, which does actually provide a decent amount of cover. Also, I guess since we are doing this, you can have a look at the overall mobility of this vehicle. We are going to go into a bit more detail on this particular one once we get to the UK. But you can see it's actually pretty dang speedy. This is in realistic mode, by the way. And there we go. Now, what can we actually do with this plane? The rear hatch has completely fallen off, so we can actually drive through that.
That's quite cool.
Which should provide a decent amount of cover, actually.
I didn't know you could go into it.
Eee.
Exciting.
I mean, this is the tight fit. This thing is very tall. It works. It works. There we go.
It's a bit of a house, yeah.
And you can actually shoot for the sides here as well. Offering a bit more cover. Not bad, not bad. In the meantime, Tom is now arriving on the low tier version of the map. Yeah.
So depending on the battle rating that you're playing on, there'll be slightly different assets around. So which is actually quite nice, because a problem with a lot of the older maps, I remember especially like Berlin, like they were quite themed to earlier stuff, and so when you got them on modern vehicles, they were a bit sort of out of place with all like the Panther wrecks and stuff. And so this sort of thing I really like, because you kind of get two maps in one, and it doesn't really spoil the thematics of where you're playing, what you're going for. And I think that works really, really well. And this is quite cool. Yeah, I like it. It's a nice setting, and there's lots of different sight lines. I mean, it's pretty nice.
There's definitely a lot less cover on the low battle rating side, though.
Yeah.
That blimp is very, very open.
It is a very open blimp. Yeah, I'm fine pretty much. I just have a cough. So sorry if I cough a lot. I will try and avoid the mic. And the mic as well. So.
Someone is asking, Carino81 on Twitch asks, I missed the old castle map. We may or may not be working on that one. White Rock Fortress has been out of rotation for a while. Stay tuned to the news, perhaps. Alright. We have another map also, which is technically not quite new, but new to RRB. This is the Southeastern City map. This has been an arcade map for a few updates now. Very nice map. The small version is entirely fought over a city. One specific feature on this map is there's a bunch of tunnels that you can actually fly through, which, if you have the courage and the skills, allows you to evade enemy fire and missiles. Now, we're flying the F-16C, nothing too new about this one, except for, well, how about, I don't have the keybind set up. There is a new feature for the HMD of the F-16C. Yep, this will do. Which, if you are in first person, so if you play this plane a lot in simulator mode, you now have a proper HMD display wherever you look, which is quite useful for figuring out a bunch of stuff. No, Aquashi, you didn't see anything? There are a few things that we are going to be showing on this stream that our Russian colleagues weren't quite able to fit into there, so hopefully we have time for everything. And we're also looking for some questions in the chat, so if you have anything specific that you want to know more info about, do leave your comment. We're looking at that as well.
I will observe.
As you can see, this map is actually pretty big, so this map has been massively extended to properly fit the size requirements of a top-tier RRB match, which is what this is. It is now a top-tier RRB map. And one thing that I always like to see with air maps is actual terrain, variety, the ability to, you know, not just fly over flat lands in the winter or flat lands in the desert or anywhere. Here, you can actually use the terrain to your advantage to both evade enemy radar, missiles, and detection in general.
Exactly. It's really, really nice to see more of these. Glad we're sort of slowly getting them now. Yeah, exactly. It means it makes the terrain quite, well, more tangible in gameplay, and beforehand it's not really been the case. So yeah, I mean, it adds variety. I mean, the maps have sort of different play styles in that sense as well, so I think it's overall pretty positive.
There's a tunnel entrance right over here somewhere that I'm not too confident in entering just yet. There it is.
I believe.
Let's get to, we are going to do that. We're going to attempt that. Just keep in mind there's a 99% chance I'm going to crash into it. The F-16 is not the biggest jet, but it is still pretty big. Alright, there we go. Here you have a nice nice city, similar to the other city map. So you can have some dogfights in here, evade missiles, all that good stuff. At nighttime, these buildings also should light up, just like on the regular city map. But the real star of this map are the tunnels. If I recall correctly from our testing on the first iteration, the arcade iteration of this map, there's about 4 different tunnels that you can use. There's one over there. There's one we flew past over in that direction somewhere. There's another one over there on that island. And I think there's a 4th one somewhere as well. Phantom Void, out of curiosity, what shirt are you wearing right now? It's a Blahai. Very nice. Hello, card hunting. The FPS shouldn't be affected too much by the lights, Takoi. They're not actual proper emitting lights, they're more like textures. Alright, let's attempt it.
I believe.
Take some bets.
Every faith.
Are we going to be able to do it through the tunnel without crashing? I don't think so.
I have faith.
I do not. Ooh. The thing is, you have to be very careful not to go too high, because your high rudder catches onto the roof, and then it's game over.
Nice. That's all of your luck from the previous dev stream curses where something's not worked.
You know how many times I tried before the stream in preparation and I wasn't able to make it through the tunnel? And now that we're on stream, it actually works. I think we lifted the curse, we inversed it.
You've lifted the curse.
Things work on the dev stream now.
Bad luck has come back. Fantastic.
There are also a few ground targets for you to attack. There's some howitzer positions. There are some vehicle convoys over here on the side, also through the city itself. Could be very interesting for a certain Aardvark vehicle, which has a big old bomb load to do some carpet bombing. And all the good stuff. All right. Yes, we are winning. Thank you very much.
Announcer knows what's good.
Indeed. Okay, next up we also have some new mechanics for APFSDS. Now, chat, quick question. What does the DS in APFSDS stand for? You're right, discarding Sabo. Up until now, we didn't really have discarding Sabos though, so we only had really the APFS part, I guess. That will change now. We have introduced a new feature to certain APFSDS shells, which means you actually have properly discarding Sabos now. And you may think, I mean, come on, that's just going to be visual. Certainly is not going to do anything, and these shells are too fast to be able to see anything anyway. That's where you're wrong. See, these discarding Sabo fragments will actually have their own damage model and will be able to damage terrain and even expose crew and lightly armored vehicles. Let's see if you can actually catch this APFSDS shell in flight. These are very fast.
It's really hard to do, yeah.
Alright, okay. Slow down now. It's going to be very slow. I don't want to go too fast, otherwise we may lose the shot.
I believe.
Man, suspension is killing me right now. There we go, okay. Alright, there you go. There is a new model. This is the 3BM42 Mango shell. The 3BM60 will also have a different look of discarding Sabo, as well as the M53. Let's go as slow as we can. Ooh. And there we go. The Sabos discard, and they are still fairly heavy chunks of material flying at fairly high speeds. Now, of course, they are not aerodynamic at all, so the main rod is going to be outrunning it very easily. But what this essentially allows you to have is kind of a localized shotgun effect, if that makes any sense. Since these fragments have their own damage models and spread out quite a lot, if you're firing at lightly armored targets that the fragments can actually damage, this means... Oh, okay, we had some fragments flying over. And yeah, they leave some impact crutches and everything. So yeah, mini shotgun effect, kind of. I wonder how this is going to work against aircraft if you fire an APFSDS at them. Could you theoretically kill an aircraft with the Sabo fragment?
I suppose you probably could, yeah.
That is probably going to be a thing, actually.
I like that. That's nice. I mean, it's a sweet little detail. You can probably do some really nice cinematic stuff with that as well.
It is also going to confuse a lot of people when they have random impact craters falling up next to them. Very nice. All right. And now let's get into the actual vehicle. Starting off with Israel, we have the new M109 Paladin. Israel is not the only nation getting this. In fact, a fair few nations are going to get this vehicle. There are two major variants, one with a long barrel and one with a short barrel. This is the short barrel version. It doesn't have a laser rangefinder like the Vidar, so it isn't going to be quite as powerful. However, it does have a very powerful AT shell. It does also have access to HEVT, which you can use against aircraft. You have a 50 cal on top, which is pretty good. And you have a loader that isn't quite an auto loader, but with an ace screw does give you a 13.3 second reload, which is not the worst, but is also pretty good for this kind of caliber.
Yeah, I mean, I love this edition. First of all, the barrel looks very funny. The stubbiness of this version is great. But yeah, it's nice. I mean, these vehicles are kind of up tier proof to an extent until you start meeting like full stabilizers and that sort of thing. So having like them being part of the game is amazing for lineups. It's really, really good to see. And yeah, as you mentioned, having 50 cals helps with anti-air defense because there are most vehicles like this don't have a defense machine gun. So overall, it's a really, really nice addition. A lot.
It does have a bit of slow turret traverse, so I wouldn't recommend using this in close quarters. Reverse speed is alright, forward speed is decent. It's not the most mobile of platforms. This wasn't ever intended to really be used in frontline combat against other vehicles. But with this amount of AG power, do you really need that anyway?
You love it.
You also have a surprising amount of crew. The thing is, the M109, like all artillery systems really, doesn't have all that much armor. So if you run into autocannons, you are going to have some issues. But with this much crew and this much space, it should maybe not die in one shot, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, from particular projectiles, you can survive, especially if you're at certain angles, side on and stuff. So yeah, I mean, especially if you don't take full ammo, there's a decent amount of artificial survivability that you get. But I mean, survivability is not going to be a strong point, but even so, for what it is, it's going to be quite hard to one-shot if they don't hit ammo.
It looks very derpy with the gun facing backwards as well.
It does. It just looks too small. It looks like a dinky toy. I really like it though.
All right, next up we have Sweden.
Yep, I can briefly show you the PPV 501. No, I mean, obviously it's a BMP, basically without the ATGM. That's all you've got going on here. But it's a 7.0, which means for lineups, I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, even in up tiers, this thing can work pretty well. When you've got rapid fire gun, you can penetrate pretty much anything, and the mobility is pretty good. So overall, it's a pretty nice addition. You can work it into quite a few lineups with it being a slightly lower BR. But I think there's some visual differences as well. The skirts, especially, I think the rubber skirts are new, I believe. I think so anyway. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty much for me, it's a lineup vehicle. I think it works pretty well. I always like the reload on the BMPs. And after you kind of get the lead down, like with a bit of practice with the shells, they can be pretty nice. So, I mean, not a huge amount to say, but I think for the tree, it's a nice thing to have. And I mean, it helps adding more light vehicles in. I mean, light vehicles are always amazing for lineups. They're really good shortcuts into CAS as well. So yeah, nice little vehicle to have.
Victor True on YouTube asks, can we have a look at Strikemaster? Yes, you will when we get to the UK. Stay calm, we'll get there. Country Swag on Twitch asks, why work on something no one will ever see in a match? Why not just work on fixing the problems like a switch to let's turn off mixed battles? Firstly, different departments work on different things. One thing does not exclude the other. And secondly, if you are referring to the discarding Sabo mechanic, that is not purely visual. That is actually technically a buff to APFSDS shell, because those fragments do have the potential of dealing damage. Not to anything with armor, of course, but to exposed crew and maybe even SPA and aircraft. They could actually net you some extra kills that you wouldn't have before. Alright, next up we have France. We have a few updates here, starting off with this Tiger has Block 2. You can find this as a end-of-the-line attack helicopter, which brings you the upgrade of the Spike ER. These are fire and forget missiles. We had something similar already on the German Tiger, and of course also on the Hungarian K-41 and the Italian IFV. But on a helicopter, these should actually be a lot better than on a ground vehicle. So let's have a quick look at them.
They have quite, I think ER, does it stand for like extra range, I think, quite literally, or something like that?
Something along those lines, yeah.
So yeah, they have a deceptively long range.
The problem always with ground-fired Spike ERs is that since the Spike has to lock onto the target and follow it by itself, if the line of sight is cut, the missile loses its target and just doesn't work. Which when you are firing from a ground level, where you have trees and houses and everything in the way, that is something that can very easily happen. On a helicopter, however, where you can just hover away 8 kilometers, and you have that kind of range, these should be a lot better. So let's see. Since these are autonomous, you can just fire them off one by one. And they should all do a decent job at tracking the targets by themselves. And now I'm going to run away because there's an SPAA shooting at me. Let's pretend for a second, yes? As you can see, the major advantage of these missiles is that you do not have to keep line of sight like you do with the Hellfire, for example. These are entirely autonomous. As long as the target doesn't break line of sight, these missiles should hit by themselves. And since this is a helicopter and you can pop in and out of cover, this allows you a lot of tactical advantages. Other than that, yeah, it's a Tiger hat. You know this vehicle. It's been in the game for a while, just now with upgraded weaponry.
Pretty much.
Next up, we have a World War II-ish addition to France.
Yes, a small one from me. Pershing for France. Pretty nice. I mean, France for this kind of BR is quite small. They have a very small rank 4 right now since all the other stuff moved up. Pershing is, I mean, from my perspective, very underrated vehicle. It's like a filter vehicle in War Thunder for me. I like it a lot. The Pershing is one of my favorite vehicles in the game. Nice to see for France. Obviously, there's not really too much to say. It's basically functionally identical to the standard version that we have for America. But, you know, for your lineups and for having a rank 4 lineup for France, I mean, it's pretty nice to have. And also, I like the camo. I'm very simple. I like seeing vehicles that don't usually have these skins and the skins that...
The French camos in general look very good.
It's nice. I wish America had more unicolor camos, because they don't really have any. They're all bicolor. I want America to get a standard kind of dark green like that. That'd be nice. Anyway, you know, you've seen the Pershing before. There's not really much else I can say. But nice to have. I mean, it's good for the lineups and good for France in general.
What is entirely new is this. And can I take a moment here to ask France, why the hell do 3 completely different vehicles all have the AMX-10 name? You have a tracked IFV, you have a AMX-10 launch thingy, the AMX-10M, which we introduced in the last update, which is a casemate's ATGM launcher tracked thingy, and then you also have a wheel tank destroyer. France, why? Why?
10's a good number, man. What can I say?
I mean, I guess. And yeah, this is the AMX-10. It's kind of similar to the Marder in concept. It is an infantry fighting vehicle, pretty big. You have a 20mm cannon on the top with access to a H-Web shell with 57mm of penetration. You also have basically no armor. Aluminum alloy is very, very, very weak, so anything heavier than probably 50 cals is going to go straight through this vehicle. And you also don't have that much crew, actually. Only 3. 1 driver who's actually very well protected from fragments with these internal armor platings, but also 2 in the turret, which are not that well protected.
It's quite lonely in there, bless him.
It is,
little
yeah.
box.
Very isolated. Thankfully, the turret itself is actually crewless, so if you can find a piece of cover that is high enough to hide the hull, at least you shouldn't immediately die, unless they hit the ammo rack. But that is still a bit of an issue. Let's have a quick look at the mobility of this vehicle. Fires is pretty standard. It does not have access to the IR tracking feature that some of the later IFVs have to deal with aircraft, but the 20mm gun can extend pretty far up high, not quite full 90 degrees, so it can't quite deal with aircraft that are flying too high above, but that is fine. And mobility overall is pretty decent as well. Let's have a look at the reverse speed. 2 reverse gears, 11 km per hour. Not ideal. I would not recommend getting too close to chaos.
Can it float? It looks like it has a splash guard.
We can give it an attempt. So thankfully we do have a handy river over here.
A handy river.
Is the gun the RH-202? No, there seems to be a French version. We'll take a look at it in the hangar again.
Does it have a machine gun next to it?
It does indeed.
Sweet.
Fairly fast firing. Not entirely sure what it is, some kind of French machine gun. It does not have any thermals. No. It is also pretty low battery rating, and yes, it can actually float.
Yeah.
Would you look at that?
You love to see it.
Oh god, it looks so goofy with a splash guard.
Less.
Alright, let's have a quick look at it again in the tech tree, where it will be. And you can see it's a pretty low battery rating. It's not the most powerful of vehicles. It will be in the SPAA line, right after the AMX-13 DCA 40, actually filling a bit of a gap here, which is nice to see.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of AA works quite well beyond its BR anyway, so for those lineups until you get to the later vehicles, it's pretty nice. Nice to see. I mean, they're quite forgiving anti-air platforms as well because of the fire rate. You know, maybe not the most interesting addition to the game for most people, but I mean, it's very functional, fills lineups, and I think, you know, overall it's good that it's here. Like...
note, by the way, even though it is classified as an SPAA, it does get scouting. Alright. Let's move on to the next nation. We have Italy with... I am very confused by this thing.
There's quite a few cool additions for Italy. So we can start with the Leopard 4070, which is... This is a really strange vehicle. It's an SPAA, but functionally it isn't. This is like the ZUT 37 for Italy, basically. It's a Bofors on the hull of the Leopard 1. And in terms of it being a functional anti-air vehicle, it's not that great, at least in terms of what it's currently at right now. As you can see, vertical targeting speed on an ace crew 7 seconds, horizontal 24, and vertical guidance a max of 20. That's not very functional whatsoever. But in terms of anti-tank, this is what, at least to me, this is what this is going to be. The crew is obviously very exposed. You've got the two at the back there, I mean here, and you can ammo rack quite easily. But the thing is, War Thunder players are conditioned mentally to shoot in the middle of the hull for most things, and the hull is completely empty. It's like the Type 65 or in the Chinese tree in the USSR tree. So if you take a shot into the middle, it's going to do basically nothing, and that's going to give it quite a bit of artificial survivability until people realize to shoot the turret array.
The Leopard 1 also has pretty decent armor for that kind of battle rating.
Yeah, for 4.3, I mean, you can... It's deceptively well armored. Like, even for, well, for the tier, it's not very much, but 70 angled like that, you are going to still bounce some stuff. So it is going to be fairly survivable, and even right into the neck, which is going to be quite a common shot, you're not going to... You know, it's not going to do a huge amount of damage. So artificial survivability-wise, pretty nuts.
Let's be very realistic, though. That's going to get machine gunned down. It
is, but 93mm max at point blank, that's... You know, and in terms of the fire rate and what you've got, that's really, really strong for 4.3. I don't know where this is going to go. But yeah, it's a bit limited with the traverse rates and how slow it is. This is on the best crew that you can get.
Can you shoot in test drive real quick? Because there's something very funny with the crew. In case you ever feel lonely playing War Thunder, don't worry. You will always have a couple of friends.
You've got two chums just checking on you, making sure you're all right. But yeah, if we look at that traverse rate for an anti-air and the elevation as well, I don't think I can even hit that. No, it locks right there. So anti-air, it's not the most. I think so this is like a pseudo light tank basically, but in terms of, you know, knocking out lightly armored stuff, I mean, it's going to be pretty solid. And you have Leopard mobility as well. So, you know, directional mobility, reverse reverse gear, and all that. It's going to be very, very strong. So yeah, it's quite an interesting, very unique vehicle for Italy. Maybe it's going to, you know, it's slightly immersion breaking with the Leopard hull at 4.3, but, you know,
Chat is very confused as to what this thing is going to be. If you are confused, ask Italy. They built this thing, not us. All right, next up we have another very fun vehicle. Italy. Italy is amazing. How did it come up with this?
I've been listening to the Lego Island soundtrack for the pizzeria shop for like a whole week because of this. I love this vehicle. I've been waiting for this since the tree came out. I mean, this is the Battle Pass Premium, so in rank 3. You have the fantastic 90mm gun on this platform. It does look very kind of chibi, very compact. It's very, very sweet. And for 4.0, you've got a pretty amazing cannon. You can one-shot basically anything that you can possibly meet. It's incredibly forgiving in terms of firepower. But there are some limitations. I can show you very, very briefly. Well, in comparison to the some events that you have with the 8 rounds, this thing has a lot more, which is fantastic because that was very limiting. You only have 2 degrees of gun depression. You can aim over the front of the cabin, but unless you're in like a deflate like this, there's not really a huge amount that you can do. But on a good crew, you've got a very, very good reload, but even off to the side, you do not have very much gun depression, but you can knock out anything incredibly quickly. But yeah, as this is predominantly on it's an anti-air gun chiefly, gun depression is not really the prime factor here. But in terms of a cool little fun vehicle with decent mobility, it's okay for what it is. It's a really nice addition. I like this a lot.
I want to figure out something scientific. Can you drive up next to that SPAA that's in front of you?
I don't think we can hit it, but let's give it a go.
That is the scientific question. Is the gun, I guess, high enough that you can hide next to it without the vehicle being able to hit you?
Let's have a squiz.
Ooh.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, you can hide next to this thing.
So, yeah, survivability, obviously, is not going to be a prime factor. The crew are very much exposed, any sort of bulletproof armor. But if you position side on, the benefit of these trucks is that it's quite hard to, well, destroy their ability to fire and move in the same shot. So you either disable the cab so it can't drive, or you disable the turret array so it can't fire, which, then it can drive away. So, yeah, it's got some artificial survivability, but not too much. I don't believe it's got a rangefinder at the moment, no, it's just standard. But, I mean, nice unique vehicle for Italy. I mean, they have the Breda in the tree, so, you're not missing a huge amount, but even so, it's a really, really nice vehicle. I'm very happy to see it. I like it.
Thankfully, there are more derp guns also coming to Italy. Italy is also one of the nations who will be given the M109 Paladin. Once again, the short barrel version, very much like the Israeli one we just had a look at, and much the same stats. This high explosive is pretty powerful. The HEBT actually has more penetration, although I'm not entirely sure how effective this is going to be against tanks because the fuse tends to explode a little bit beforehand on some vehicles. So that is something that you will actually be able to try out in the upcoming dev server. Yes, it is finally time to talk about it. We are planning, if all goes well, we are planning to open up the dev server today. So you can load the dev server update maybe right now, actually. Something that you can do and check out the vehicles in the open server once it goes public. If all goes well, hopefully, knock on wood. Yes. All right. Italy is also getting an upgrade to their helicopters, the AH-129D, which you will be able to find right at the end after the CVT. Much needed upgrade with also access to the Spike ERs, much like the French Tiger had new version. You also have access to Mistral air-to-air missiles and a few not very powerful rocket pods and machine guns. I don't believe this one has any camouflages yet, sadly. But it should perform.
It's a very mean looking helicopter, I think.
I always have liked the look of the A129, yeah.
Very pretty.
Looks very aggressive. All right.
I can't laugh.
Next up, we have a derp gun for China.
Yes, this is China's take on the M109. It's a little bit worse. I mean, the reload right now is pretty much the same. It's on the same hull, effectively, as the tank destroyer version a bit later on in the tree. But in terms of the performance of the rounds, it's not quite as good. That's the proxy and the standard, only 46. But even so, 46 is still pretty solid. It's got the anti-air machine gun, which is a 50, still pretty nice. But, armor, nothing to really write home about, I suppose. You have the mechanized rack, so in terms of fire rate, pretty solid. But yeah, it's China's take, basically. Slightly less powerful rounds, but overall, it's a still solid platform. Not too much to say, but nice for the tree, good for lineups, up tier proof. these sorts of vehicles are great for the game.
Safety First on Twitch asks, what will be the new Battle Pass aircraft? We'll get there soon. But firstly, Japanese mains. Do you like the Type 93? Don't answer the question. I like the Type 93 because it's very fast, but let's be fair, it's not the most effective of anti-air platforms. So, Japan is finally getting an upgrade. The 10 SAM 1C is a big old truck with big old missiles. However, these are still IR missiles. These are not manually aimed. They are very good IR missiles, but they still are susceptible to all the same thing as other IR missiles, like flares and, well, evasion. Let's have a quick look at it in a test drive. By the way, this will also get a new system, which is honestly a bit over my head, so... Three voices. The Type 93 and the Strela M2 are also going to get a new electro-optical targeting system, specifically for use against helicopters. You may know the struggles of trying to lock onto a helicopter that has access to the IR countermeasures, which massively reduces lock-on range of IR missiles, right? With this electro-optical system, you will essentially be able to have a higher lock-on range against helicopters that are flying against a flat sky in daytime conditions. It will try to acquire the target optically instead of with IR, which should increase the range at which you can lock onto helicopters, but only specifically in daytime conditions and helicopters that are flying high enough to have a clear sky in the background, right? Alright, let's have a look at the missiles then. I didn't show you the stats, but they have about a 35 G pull. Fire pretty well. Fire and forget, of course, since they are IR. And they have a pretty decent range as well. If I recall correctly, rear aspect range is about 11 kilometers, front aspect range is about 6 kilometers. Let's have a quick look at the stats.
Do you know what this reminds me of? That, you know that anime with the big people?
Attack on Titan?
Yeah, they have like the boxes with them to hold their little swords in, and it reminds me of that, the ones it has on the side.
Oh god, someone's going to make a meme out of that.
Please do, I'd love to see that. That was the first thing I thought of when I saw it.
But yeah, there you go, the stats of the missile. 35 G pull, very long range, and of course with the increased capability of locking on to helicopters, this should be quite a decent vehicle for clearing the skies. Of course, major issue is just these are IR missiles, not manually guided. Let's have a quick look. Show the reload animation, please. The reload animations may not be quite ready just yet. What I can show you is, well, the no armor and also the crew layout. It is very, very, very vulnerable. Only 2 crew, anyone machine guns one of them, you're dead. And you also have very big missiles here in these big side boxes. It's going to be quite vulnerable to artillery, I would say.
Yes, very, very fragile to fragments. Absolutely.
All right, lads. We have something special for you. A new Japanese battleship. It is indeed a battleship. It begins with Yama, and it ends with O. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for the IJN Yamashiro?
Hello. Japed here. He was so proud of that. That was the highlight of the stream for Mr. Mike. And very well done, I must say. Yeah, premium Japanese ship.
You don't need light
sort of, you're gonna cough forever. Yeah, so it's a very early sort of Fuso class. Does not have the same crew or anti-air. In terms of guns, it's basically the same. So low BR, effectively, with less anti-air, less crew. It's best to look over ships yourself, basically, because they have a huge amount of, it's more about the armor and the internals and that sort of thing. So, and people will be falling asleep when we look at this, lol, lol, lol. But regardless, I mean, I think it's cool. There's quite a bit of history to this one as well, which I think is already published, but still. I had to learn quite a bit about this one looking into the, for the blogs about it, which is quite interesting, actually.
What do the camels look like on this one?
I can't look.
Oh, right, I can. Hold on.
You can.
Yes. Camos on this one are pretty decent. You have the base camo, which already looks pretty snazzy. Got the unicolor camouflage if you want to be boring. Tricolor spotted, which looks actually pretty decent.
Something I love about naval skins as well is that if you can change the size to like really small and really big, you basically can create like 3 camos out of 1.
Oh boy.
I think that's brilliant. Like, I love that. I think it's really, really well done, honestly.
And some multicolor as well. Interesting. This reminds me a lot of some Chinese tank schemes, and this one of a French tank scheme.
Yeah, it looks kind of like World War I-y, I suppose, in a way. I quite like that.
All right. Next up, we have another M109, this time for the UK, and this is a long-barreled version. Now, the major difference between these two major variants of M109 is really just the muzzle velocity. The shell stays the same, the penetration stays the same, but on the long-barreled version you have 684 meter per second velocity, whereas on the short-barreled versions you have 563. It's a pretty sizable speed difference, which will mean that the long barrel versions, of course, will be easier to use at longer ranges, but the short barrel versions could actually be more useful in hilly terrain, so you can lob a shell more easily. On that, not really much changes. Still no laser rangefinder. It's an M109, sorry. We also have this long-awaited British wheeled tank destroyer, the Vickers Mk.11. The hull reminds me of Halo for some reason.
Tell you what, I was just going to say that. It looks like a kind of, like a level boss kind of vehicle. I really like it. I mean, it's an absolute house. You're not going to be...
massive. It is massive. It has no armor, aluminium all around. This thing will get absolutely chewed up if it gets hit. Yeah. You also only have 4 crew. Very empty space around here, but you only have 1 driver in the front and 3 people in the turret. Survivability is not really going to be the strong point of this vehicle. However, it does have access to a 105mm cannon, with also access to the C76A1 APFSDS shell, hash and heat, of course, as well as scouting. No drones, but you do have a laser rangefinder. And the speediness is actually not bad at all. Top speed of 105 kilometers on flat terrain. A reverse speed of only 10, not ideal. Part rate ratio is not the best either, but on flat terrain you should be able to go pretty speedy. This gun also has a stabilizer which works up to around 75 kilometers per hour-ish. Above that you will not be able to stabilize your gun, and the reload rate on a fully aced crew is 6.7 seconds, which is about average. Not too great, not too terrible. Should be a decent addition for the UK. Something speedy, something nice, something that can flank around and scout.
Yeah, nice the lineup as well. Can use it with the chieftains, pretty solid.
All right, next up we have the Battle Pass plane.
I love this one. No one was expecting this, were they? I really like this sort of vehicle. I mean, it's a Kiwi vehicle, and much like the Kiwi, it is also friend-shaped. Look at that. It's a very sort of sweet-looking plane. You've got a lot of speed for 6.0. In terms of its performance as a fighter aircraft, not too much. It's very agile for what it is, of course, but only 2 rifle caliber machine guns, not a huge amount. They're slightly more powerful than like the standard 303, sort of that area of 7mm guns. So not amazing. But in terms of it being a CAS platform, one of the most important things that you need, apart from a decent speed, is sort of the maneuverability to operate within that kind of CAS environment, being able to loop and, maneuver and get your guns on target, well, your ordnance on target, excuse me. And so you've got a pretty solid amount. It's, well, in terms of the platform, the forgivingness of the platform, it's great. You've got your bombs, you've got your rockets, and a decent amount of speed as well. And I mean, you can't really go full fighter with this, but if someone's on your tail, the heavier aircraft that you often do see in ground forces at least, you can defensive fly with it incredibly well, and you can reverse pretty well as well.
Could you take it out in test flight?
I can. What I will do...
I'm just a bit confused. Stat cards are subject to change. It says 900 kilometers per hour, but it doesn't really actually go that fast.
It's not. It's very, like, a huge struggle. You struggle to get that fast. It does not have CCIP as well. Imagine, like, at 6.0, that would be a bit sort of nuts. Yeah, so I'll take it into a standard flight like this, just to sort of show you that it's not as... it's not, like, as hugely quick as it may seem. It will take a while to get up to speed and really do too much.
Across the ground. I do think it has CCIP from what I recall.
I don't think it does, unless I...
Maybe it was the Aardvark.
It might
be confusing things right now.
Yeah, I don't believe it does. But yeah, 2 little guns, in terms of what you can do, I mean, it's okay. Defensive flying for a jet, pretty okay. Because it's so light, any kind of ordnance that you have is going to really, really impact the flight performance. I believe the bombs drop separately. Yeah. So you've got 4 bomb drops if you take all 4 bombs. And that does help mobility quite a bit as well. But it's not going to be uncatchable, basically, as it may seem from the stat card. It's not quite so quick. But you have an incredibly agile platform, which is perfect for lining up bombs and rockets. And it's, for what it is, and it's kind of trainer role, I think it's pretty much perfect for it. It's not going to be immensely dominant, but with some practice and what you've got available to you, there's a lot that it can do. And it's very sweet. It's a sweet little friend plane. I like it. I'm a big fan of this.
Ryboon, why is it here 6.0 while in the Russian stream it had 5.7 in RB? I would assume the Russian stream actually had in arcade mode. We are in realistic here.
Arcade is 5.7, realistic.
Oh yeah, it is. Never mind. Yeah, it is realistic in 6.0. And in arcade mode is where it is 5.7. Yep. There you go. All right. Next up we have new SPAA for Russia.
I was this is what I've been waiting for a really long time. The KPVT is probably one of my favorite sort of light weapons in the game. I think they're brilliant. And it's nice because, well, obviously, new anti-air for Russia. Basically the same as the other 152, except 2 extra guns, which in terms of the arrangement is actually pretty good. And for where it is right now, it fills a gap between, you've got 5.7 here, and then before you had 3.7 here. And so this other version, which is a bit different, obviously anti-tank ability is not quite as good as ZUT, even though it's not reliable, or that reliable anyway. But in terms of what this vehicle is, it's pretty good. You've got a good spread. You've got a lot of ammo. The KPVTs are really, really nice. They do a lot of damage when they hit. It's a nice little addition. It's great for lineups. Obviously, not a huge amount to say. You know the gun. You know the platform. Just 2 extra, and I think, well, it is pretty good. Quite now, at the moment, it's a bit unstable. These guns have quite a bit of recoil, so they are going to knock around a bit. But in terms of the spread that you get, it's pretty good. Nice little anti-air. Not a huge amount else to say. I mean, obviously, there's a much more exciting thing to see other than this, which Mike can show you.
I'm so excited for this.
I love this little friend.
Chat, can we get some bonk in chat? This is the Object 775. Don't adjust your eyes. This is the correct aspect ratio. It is an experimental Russian prototype, very, very flat. The objective here was to make it as low profile as possible. And as you can see, this is a substantial amount lower than even a Leopard 1. However, what if we could make it even lower?
Hell's horses.
I think it's pretty fair to say this is probably one of the lowest profile vehicles in the game. I would really like to see what this thing looks like next to an L3, because holy crap, you are just flat.
You're just
completely flat. I mean, the hull is about the same size as a Leopard. It's about the same length, about the same width as well, but it's half the height.
I love it.
The crew does just very barely fit. This looks very, very cramped. I mean, they're basically sitting on the ground at this point. Interestingly, you only have 2 crew. You don't have a driver in the front of the hull, which honestly is probably for the best because it wouldn't have any space there. You only have 2 crew in the turret, and this gun is also a bit different. It doesn't fire regular munitions. Instead, it fires a rocket, the Rubin ATGM, which has about 700 units of penetration. It is not a tandem warhead, however, so against things like that ERA over there, it will be intercepted by that. And also, it is very much like the tow missile, susceptible to the jamming of stuff like that M1. Yeah. Yes, the RCM. Like that M1 over there. Wait, I need to go higher. I'm too low.
He's too low.
Dun, dun, dun. Okay, I'm still not high enough.
I'm noticing a problem here.
It is very flat.
Very flat.
As you can see, the missile gets deflected by that. Now, thankfully, the hydromatic suspension is actually fully operational. It's not just up and down. You can also increase the angle of the hull, so you get a bit more depression, which you are going to need. This ATGM launcher only has about 5 degrees of negative depression, which can be an issue over hulls, but the missile should make up for it. Also, because it is so low profile and you have such an extremely angled frontal hull, it has a decent amount of armor, actually.
It's deceptively survivable, yeah. You've got the weak point in the gunner's optic and the cupola, and because it's only got 2 crew that you need to take out one of them, it can be destroyed quite quickly. But yeah, the armor on the front turret and the hull, even for 9.3, is very good.
Pretty decent. Very, very decent indeed. Of course, against the sides, you are basically going to be a one-shot. There's nothing really that can save you. If not for the only 2 crew members, you also have a big old rocket ammo rack over here. It does have a composite armor, interestingly enough. And, oh man, it's such a weird vehicle.
It's brilliant. I love it.
I'm actually very surprised to see it in the tech tree.
Yeah, it's a very, very niche vehicle. You'd expect that more so to be a bit more of a premium, but yeah, it's nice. I mean, it's not infallible. There are weak points. It does have its weaknesses. It does have a lot of strong points. I think it's an amazing vehicle for the game. I think it's very, very fun. You can do a lot of interesting things with it. I think it's fantastic.
These stats, this is for a realistic one, yeah? That's actually a pretty strong engine. 1,000 horsepower, 35 tons is very, very decent. Turret traverse is not going to be the best.
It's okay.
It does have a gun stabilizer. Vertical traverse is also not the best. Reloading is pretty good. It does have an auto loader. And here are the modifications. I think you're in arcade for the horsepower there for the top. No, I don't think so.
I think at the top for going to battle, it's set at arcade.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, never mind. There we go. That's more accurate. Also, let's look at the modifications. These are the sets for the Rubin. 500mm of penetration. Sorry, I misspoke earlier. 550 meter per second velocity. Not too bad. Decent range. You also have access to a HE rocket. It's not guided. Keep that in mind. But it does have decent penetration. Not the best. I would not use this against anything other than SPAA. But at that point, why not just use the HG?
Yeah, exactly. It's like the Acra, the same sort of rocket-propelled HE round. It's okay, but they're a bit hard to aim. And generally, you are just going to want the standard ATGM.
Why is it so flat? It looks wrong. It messes with my brain. It looks like it has the wrong aspect ratio.
It does look like someone's edited it. I really like it, though. I'm really happy to see this one in the game. It's brilliant.
All right, let's move on to Germany, which also gets a derp gun.
Yeah, it's the same M109G. Not really a huge amount to say other than the other versions. It's basically the same as the others, except the top MG is different. Nice for Germany as well. Having another howitzer, really, really good lineup vehicle.
Stubby.
Very stubby. I like the little pancake addition to the gun. That's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, we've shown this before. Same thing for Germany, basically. Good thing to have in your lineup. Nice lineup vehicle. Pretty solid. And the camos are good too. I like it.
There are some good news for German aviation fans, however. They are getting a new top-tier jet, an upgrade to the MiG-29, the MiG-29G. And you may say, but War Thunder, the MiG-29 is clearly a Russian jet. What do you mean a top-tier German vehicle? How do you explain this then?
I love that. It's the most German thing I've seen.
It really is.
I'd expect like the Americans to make a camo like that, but...
Well, there is actually an American camouflage as well, kind of technically. There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, if you want to have the most German MiG possible, there you go. This is one of the base camos that you can buy with GE, or some of them even unlock. And it is pretty decent. Now, this is going to be very similar to the MiG-29 SMT. You do have access to R-73E missiles. These are functionally identical to the R-73. I don't believe there's much of a difference there. You also have access to the R-27ET, the R-27ER, R-60s. You got bombs, although nothing really guided on this aspect. It's purely a fighter, really. This will be a pretty good addition to Germany top tier air. Oh, also, did I forget to mention what the tech tree position of this was? There you go. Right after the Sturm S, before the Krisentheimer S. And for the MiG, of course, it's going to be after the MiG-29. I believe it also gets HMD, just like the SMT does.
Good.
It's an SMT with an actual flight model. Oi! All right, let's see. What do we have next then? Oh yeah, right. It's the final nation, isn't it? Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for the Varking? Not quite yet. Not quite yet.
Yeah, we've got to leave that to last so you stay here.
Yes.
So first I can briefly show you that there's going to be quite a numerous amount, I think, of AP bombs added to the games. These are primarily for like anti-ship stuff. And Hellcat gets one here. They're very long Della bomb. I think on the changelog, when the dev server comes out, you can see the full list of vehicles, but yeah, there's going to be a lot of these AP bombs that are going to be added for naval against ships and stuff, and obviously for ARB as well when you're engaging ships. Obviously Hellcat, you know what that is, just the bomb. There's quite a few to the game. I think Germany gets quite a few of them as well. Same as Britain, the Wellington gets one, I think anyway. But there's a lot of AP additions. Nice.
Oh god, the Vark is reaching a critical level in the chat. We better move on. Quick, show the T-54.
Okay, I will. So TP4E2, this is the other version, well, the second version for the existing premium. This is another premium as well. Basically, the armor is a bit different in the layout. You can check it all yourself. There's a few differences. It's still okay for 7.7 basically, but it's not auto-loaded. On an Ace crew, it matches the speed of the auto-loader on the other version. So it's still pretty okay. I really like this gun. You've got a very heavy Sabo round, which it's very, very powerful. The AP I don't find too reliable. But the heat and the Sabo I really like. This platform is pretty nice. It's pretty okay for like a rank 5 premium. There's already a lot of 7.7 vehicles already in the main tech tree. So it's, if you want to make a pretty strong lineup there, you can do that. And it's pretty okay. I think I'd probably prefer this one to the E1 because you run out of the auto-loader quite quickly. It takes a long time to replenish that. But on this version, it's manually loaded. So you can match that pretty nicely.
Interesting enough, with a fully ace crew, you do still get the 5-second reload. Exactly,
it matches the autoloader if you have it on a pretty good crew. It does have a couple of armor weak spots on the front, like near the some parts here, so it can get through. But for what it is, pretty nice. It's a nice addition. I really like the gun on this thing.
Oh no, oh Tom. They're still Varking.
They're still Varking. Go.
I mean, I guess if you want to see the Vark, you don't want to see this thing, right?
They don't want to see that, no.
I want to see that.
No.
Okay, fine. Let's move on then. Can we have a Vark in chat? Vark. Welcome to the game, the F-111 Aardvark. Yeah, this... What can you say? It's a swing wing. It's very big. It's a two-seater. And it has a crap ton of ordnance.
Is that the record for the most rockets you could carry? I don't know. I feel like it probably so. It must be.
It's a lot. Like when you take the continuous fire mode, you essentially just fire for 20 seconds straight. It's a bit insane. So yeah, Aardvark. Top tier, not quite top tier. This is going to be at 10.3 after the F-105D. It is a strike aircraft, as you can see by the very, very heavy armament. You can theoretically use it in air-to-air, although you only get access to the AIM-9B. However, you do get access to up to 8 of them. 6 on the wings, plus 2 more in an internal bomb bay. You can also replace that internal bomb bay twin missile pylon with a 20mm gun. You have a lot of bombs. You got normal bombs, you got drag shoot bombs, you got 750-pound bombs, which you can take a lot of. You can take a bunch of rockets. Look at this, it's so insane.
I like it, it's pretty.
You also got incendiary bombs, you got bullpups, and you got some gun pods, and you can essentially mix and match however you want. You can make basically anything out of this aircraft. It does also have countermeasures. 26 large countermeasures, not a great amount. At its best rating, it should hopefully be fine. Then again, you mostly want to be running away from enemies. Let's take a look at the modifications. There you go. That is the modifications tree. You do need to research the flare, of course. And yeah, wait. Chat actually wants to see the previous one now?
No, I don't think they do. I don't think so. I think they're lying to you.
I don't know. What do you think, chat? Do you think we should show the other thing again?
I mean, chat are renowned fabricators, so I think
they've been asking for the Vark the entire stream.
Exactly. I mean, I think that's all they want to see.
Fine. Very quick look, lads. The Black Hawk is not down. It is actually here in War Thunder. Very early look. It's not quite textured yet, so we're not going to take it out on test drive. But I can just quickly show you what kind of ordnance you can expect from this. You got Hellfires, you got the laser guided rockets, all the good stuff. I am incredibly excited for this thing coming to the game. I've been asking for it for the longest time. Let's get back to the Aardvark, yes?
You saw nothing.
Okay, there are a few things to keep in mind with the Aardvark. Namely, since the wings are swinging, and oh boy, do they swing. There's something quite interesting with these pylons. The inner 2 pylons do rotate to keep your ordnance facing forward. The outer 2 pylons, however, don't. They are fixed. Which means that if you do decide to bring a loadout that occupies those outer pylons, you cannot sweep your wings fully back, which means you get a massive speed penalty. Let me quickly show you in a test flight.
It's quite crusty, I'll say.
That emo kit, it does not yet have the proper eject animation, no. It doesn't even have...
I love how flat it is on the top, just from like an aesthetic standpoint. I think it's really pretty. Hopefully get with the Australian version at some point, that'll be nice.
I've seen the UK mains in the chat asking for that a lot, yeah. For the time being, this is going to be the only version. We'll see in the future. Alright, it does take a while to take off. You can take up to 14,000 kilograms worth of ordnance, at which point it truly is a massive truck and can't really move. It also guzzles fuel quite a lot. I have infinite fuel on right now, but I guess you can kind of compare it to the F-14. You do want to take out more fuel rather than less fuel. Usually the maximum fuel amount of 2 hours is going to be just about enough to do some prolonged ARB fighting. Okay, let's quickly select the Mighty Mouse and let's just fire. By the way, work in progress.
This does look a bit
silly.
Yeah.
But I guess we can make a T before this ends.
We could, yeah, could go out.
Still going. Still going. Now it's over.
Hello.
Yeah. You may notice though, my wings are not swinging. I'm getting a reduced speed warning. I'm not even Mach 0.9 yet. And yeah, that is the issue. You do have the option of taking this much ordnance, but if you do be warned, you will not be able to go very fast. You will break your wings. So you have a real tactical decision to make. If you don't occupy those autopilons, then you can go quite fast. Can you not drop pods? You can. You absolutely can. Nah, those bits are overrated targets, and don't worry. It's fine. Do we get the fuel dump? No. Alright. Let's take off again. A little bit easy this time. But now we can actually control the wing sweep, so we can make it fully flat. Something I also found very interesting with this aircraft. More wheels are in, yes. Oh yeah, the air brake is just the covered wheels.
Oh, nice.
Which I find pretty smart.
Sweet.
As we go faster in subsonic speeds, it does use the it's not quite called ailerons, it's spoilerons, I think it's called, yeah, as well as the rear rudders. As you approach supersonic speeds, however, it only uses the rear elevator ailerons. I'm not sure of the technical things here, but yeah, it's decent.
And you can take a combination of guns and missiles as well.
You do have to create it manually though. At least at the moment, there's not a preset for that.
Exactly.
Keep in mind, you can bring up to 6 missiles with the gun pod, because it does occupy the same slot as the extra 2 missiles that are in the bomb bay. In fact, maybe I can show this off real quick, actually. Let's point towards the sun. Decent pull, not bad, not bad. Fires the outer pylon first. Fires the outer pylon first. Fires the middle pylon. And now I believe it goes for the... No, still fires the pylons, okay. And now the next 2 should be the bomb bay. There we go. Oh, interesting. There is a bit of a delay. There is a bit of a delay. So it opens up the bomb bay underneath.
That's cool.
For you to be able to launch the missiles, which does give you about a second delay there. Very, very interesting. Alright, there we go. That is the Aardvark. Now, do we have anything else to show? I believe we have actually gone through everything. So... maybe just a very quick round. If you have any questions, post them in the chat right now. We have around a minute or 2 to be able to answer some of them. Israel, not at the moment, no. The helicopter weapons, I did show you the weapons for the MH60. Hold on. There we go. Oh god. Oh, chat is going fast.
I can't read.
It's not even barking. Oh god, yeah, chat is going very fast right now. I can't even read anything. Yeah, Blackhawk and Aardvark and M109 for US, for Germany, for Great Britain, for Italy, and for Israel. Lots of M109s. Can you show the Italian naval tree? We don't have anything new to show just yet. Keep in mind, we haven't actually shown you everything that is coming in this update. Some stuff is not quite ready yet. You will be able to test everything on the upcoming dev server. So just keep in mind, this is a preview, a sneak peek. There's more stuff to come.
Yes.
Okay, F-111 Air SimBR. Keep in mind that is going to be
Yeah, a lot of this is preliminary.
Preliminary, yes, but should be around the same. It's also after the F-109, F-105D. Okay, sadly, I believe that is all that we have to show right now. Thank you very much for watching this preview of the upcoming update. Once again, reminder, we are planning to open up the dev server today. You can download it, and once it is public, you can log into it with your regular account to test out this new content. Hopefully, it will open today and run for a fair few days. Thank you very much for watching the stream.
Very much.
We'll see you in the update. Goodbye.